We are recapping 2019. Season's over, and in this part of the country, it's over. And as far as garage sale is concerned, this season pretty much ends in September. There's no playoffs. There's no quarterfinals. There's no World Series. It comes to an abrupt end in September. I didn't even go out today.
I didn't either.
It's pointless.
It was really sad, but we had a great season overall, and we're going to recap that. We're going to talk about all of our best finds and show some footage here. So this season started for me with the very first game that I looked at the very first sale I went to being Earthbound.
Yeah.
And if you've watched our channel for a while, you know that I found 2 copies of Earthbound last season, 2018. And I thought it just couldn't get any better than that. And then the first game that I see is Earthbound. And I paid almost nothing for it. I mean, she gave it to me for a song with a pile of Super Nintendo games and Game Boy games, stuff like that. So super happy to start the season off like that. I mean, you hate to get skunked, but you also hate to not have any good finds by the time the end of June comes around. So felt really good finding Earthbound. And some other great games in there too. I mean, Contra the Alien Wars was in that pile.
Nice.
Some great Game Boy games. So yeah, that was how the season started for me.
What a way to start the season. So one of my best finds of the year was also one of my best days of all time that I've ever had garage sailing. It was kind of early this year. I had, I believe, 3 or 4 different really good scores in the same day. The first one was a whole slew of GameCube games, including Fire Emblem, Path of Radiance on GameCube. It was disc only, along with original Legend of Zelda in the box, a bunch of N64 games, Super Nintendo, huge stack of really nice GameCube games. Paid $100 for all of it. I mean, and then like the very next sale I go to, I find a big bundle of Super Nintendo games for $20 or $25. I can't remember.
Unbelievable.
It was, and like 2 PSPs, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I can see it in the recap footage here.
Yeah,
crazy.
It was just an incredible day. I came home with just piles of games. I think I spent a total of $150, maybe somewhere around there. It was unreal, but yeah, that was a very memorable day for me. For sure.
There's always that moment on a Saturday when the two of us, between the two of us, we have to text the other one, hey, what'd you find?
Yeah.
Or you just send a photo of what you found. And before I could send him anything, he just sent me a text and he said home run. And that's all he said.
Home run.
I got really excited to see what he found, and it did not disappoint.
Knocked it out of the park.
Unbelievable day. And Fire Emblem on the GameCube now sits in my collection because I've got a family discount. So
got a little trade going on there.
It's good.
I'm not a GameCube collector, really. I kind
of turned into one, to be honest. I've got a decent little GameCube collection. So
if I was a GameCube collector this year, I would have.
Oh man!
Had an instant collection.
Let's talk about that sale. Well, on that same day where he found all that GameCube stuff, I, as you can see in this footage, found these 2 PlayStation consoles with the DualShock controller, which I found were definitely more valuable than the early models of the PlayStation.
Oh yeah.
So completely mint, unused, never touched. 2 of them, $15.
Boxes were a little beat up, but the contents were completely unused.
So I was feeling pretty good about that. And then, as you can see, Andy just absolutely killed it. Yeah. Super Nintendo, N64, unbelievable find. I mean, look at some of these games. Yeah. Right off the bat, you can see Donkey Kong Country, Shadows of the Empire, more N64 games. They just kept coming. Yeah, it was a sick find.
I picked up about 15 to 20 N64 games here, and only like 4 or 5 Super Nintendo. I don't know what happened to all the Super Nintendo games. And then I got both consoles, a bunch of controllers. I gave him $60. There was another video game picker on my trail on this one, so I kind of wanted to close the deal as fast as I could. So I gave him $60.
Yeah, 60 is a great deal for that stuff.
Yeah, really nice find. And then the next sale I go to was the biggest bundle of GameCube games I have ever found at a yard sale. There were literally over 50 GameCube games. The guy just brought out a big tub.
Good titles too.
Yeah.
Mario Party 4 was in there. Jeez, Star Fox Adventures, Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness. Holy crap! What did you get for that game?
I sold that for $65.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick. Metroid Prime.
Paper Mario's worth a lot now too.
Oh, that's north of 50, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Huge pile of games. A lot of these games, again, I'm kind of collecting GameCube, so we worked out a deal, and a lot of those games are now in my collection. So happy
Yeah.
about that.
That was one of my best days of all time. Again,
And then there was a day when the two of us decided to go garage selling together.
yes, that was really fun.
That was awesome. On that
Yeah.
same, the day before that, we had in the same video, you wound up going out by yourself. You found Ogre Battle on the N64. Nice lot of Pokemon games that we just saw.
Really nice lot of Pokemon games.
Yeah, Ogre Battle. So we made a trade for that, and I cleaned it up really nicely. It looks almost brand new now.
Yeah.
I did a back swap on it. That was a really fun day, garage selling together.
It really was. We had the George Foreman grill. I don't know
Oh,
if
that
you
was
guys
awesome.
remember that. I found a
Yeah.
brand new George Foreman grill, and we decided without a receipt to just return it to Walmart because sometimes you get store credit for these things. I gave the lady $5 for this thing. I turned it into $60 store credit at Walmart.
And then, as you can see, a nice pile of NES games. Castlevania 3 was in there. Dragon Warrior. I believe Ninja Gaiden was in there. Adventure Island 2. And then Super Metroid. Kid brings out Super Metroid.
Yeah.
Paid him total of $20 for all that stuff. Some Nintendo Power magazines. Some good manuals were there.
That was a really fun day.
That was so much fun. There's another fun. Randy convinced this lady to bring out an NES.
Oh yeah, this lady, it wasn't even her garage sale. It was across the street, and
Oh,
she heard me
man.
asking about games, and so I followed her to her house. It wasn't a big deal. They were just kind of run-of-the-mill Nintendo games. All the Marios and, I don't know, Paperboy maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a fun little
I think
find,
I
though.
gave her $20.
So-
Guy.
Kilt guy.
Yeah.
This guy was wearing a kilt, but he had a whole box full of N64 stuff.
Did he have
and
any bagpipes?
Not that I saw, but I mean, I didn't ask him. Yeah, this was an old farmhouse where I couldn't find it, but I was determined. I turned around. I was like, I'm going to find this stinking garage sale because I just knew that it had an old garage somewhere full of stuff that hadn't been looked at for like 25 years. I knew it. And so I found the sale and I got all the guys' games. Decent pile. It wasn't the most mind-blowing thing, but you had Mario 64 was there, Mario Kart, Ocarina of Time. Decent pile of NES games, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, some systems were there. The N64 console was there. So I mean, yeah, you could do a lot worse for $100, but it was just I was really proud of this because how determined I was. It wasn't easy to find. I don't know. People have garage sales and it's not easy to find. And then when I finally found it, I walked up and I was all alone for like 5 minutes standing in their yard. Like they were inside the whole time, and I just stood there and I just waited for them to come out. It was weird. I don't know. These kids actually flagged me down as I was driving by with some garage sale signs. They're like, "Hey, come to our garage sale." So I asked about video games. They brought out all these PlayStation games. It wasn't the greatest stack of games in the world, but there were some decent ones in there. Blasto, it has some value. A lot of people actually really like that game. But there were some other valuable games in that lot, and I paid, I think, $10 or $15 for the whole lot. I think there were 20 games. I can't remember.
I don't find a whole lot of PS1 stuff. I really don't.
I don't either. And these were mostly in good condition and complete, which is extra
Yeah.
hard to find with PS1. Those jewel cases, man, they're just... It's like glass. It's
They're
just
so
shatters.
fragile. I know.
So this is one where our sister texted us a photo of this rare Sega CD game called Vi. And then I went over to her house and said, "Hey, can I just borrow the game so we can show it on our channel?" She's like, "Oh, yeah, sure. But you might want to head back to that estate sale because there's all these boxes that haven't been gone through it all." And I was like, "Say no more." So I went to this estate sale, and as you can see, found multiple copies of Sonic 3 on the Genesis, a couple of Saturn games, Sonic CD for the Sega CD, found that CD backup cartridge for the Sega CD, the Genesis. That was a good score, and I paid $20 or $40, I can't remember, for all that stuff.
Some instruction manuals in
So
there.
a bunch of Sega CD instruction manuals were there, some good ones too. Lunar was there. Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, sometimes, we're eventually going to approach that time where a lot of really old people with estate sales have video games in their house. We're not really there yet.
No.
Because most old people didn't play video games, but 30 years from now,
We'll be there.
all these old folks' houses are going to be full of old video games. Mine will, I know that. Late August can be hit or miss, but we had a pretty decent day in late August. As you can see, I found this nice little pile of GameCube games for $1 each. Some Resident Evil titles were in there. There's a James Bond game in there. You had a nice stack of PS2 games that week with competition right on your tail.
More competition.
The guy that walked in as you were making the transaction. Yeah. Oh, you got all the good ones.
Yeah, I did. What are you going to do about it?
Here's one of your Mario Sunshines.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the second week in a row that I found Mario Sunshine.
Yeah, and then the Black Wii in the box.
Black Wii in the box.
Nice.
Yep.
Wired Xbox 360 controller.
Two
Wavebird.
wired.
Two of them,
Yep.
yeah. Got a Wavebird in there. Yeah, that Black Wii, people want that's a very desirable console. It goes for a lot more than the white one. Oh. Yeah, I had a lot of average days. I had a lot of pretty decent scores, like a lot of pretty decent scores. But I didn't have very many like really dynamite days. I mean, honestly, the very first day finding Earthbound was probably the best day I had just because of Earthbound. I've noticed this year just a lot more people pricing their stuff at eBay prices. I talked to somebody at a garage sale who had like, I don't know, $10 on a certain Xbox title, and they wouldn't budge on it. And they're like, it's worth $10. I looked on eBay. It's worth $10. They kept saying that. And I'm like, yeah. When I was 9 years old and I was collecting baseball cards, I would open up that Beckett price guide and I would go, oh, let's see. This Nolan Ryan card, it says it's worth $4. If you would have walked into my bedroom and said, hey, I'll give you $3 for that Nolan Ryan card, I would have been like, no,
worth $4.
It's worth $4. I mean, that's it was like a commodity. Like we're trading stocks or shares of something. Like in my 9-year-old brain, that is how the world worked.
Yep.
Unfortunately, a lot of adult brains seem to work that way today.
Yeah, they don't understand dealer price versus private sale or garage private sale price. I mean, come on, there's a huge difference. You don't get retail prices at a garage sale. You don't. eBay, you got to pay fees, you got to pay shipping costs.
You got to go to the post office.
The time it takes to take all the pictures and list all the stuff. That jacks the price up. That's a dealer retail price you're getting. You don't get to ask that at a garage sale. I showed up at a yard sale once, and a guy had 3 GameCube games. It was like Smash Melee and 2 other pretty decent GameCube titles. And they were all like $40 to $50 each. And I just kind of rolled my eyes, and I was like, so are you flexible on these prices at all? And he looked at me, and he goes, oh, those are eBay prices. I'm like, thanks. I don't pay eBay prices at a garage sale. I don't do it. Have fun. Knock yourself out. It's 9-year-old frame of mind. You're supposed to grow out of that. You're supposed to be an adult and realize this is how it works.
Grow up. You're right. It's a 9-year-old frame of mind.
Time to grow up.
Grow up. The other observation that I'm sure everybody out there is having is fierce competition.
Yes.
And wow. When I started garage sailing a few years ago, I kind of started moving into another area geographically that wasn't really picked over much, and I was really satisfied with my results, finding a lot of great stuff, and I stayed in that area for a while. And man, this year, I mean, it doesn't even matter where you go anymore. I kind of fled the city is what I did, just to sort of try to get away from the most amount of pickers.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter anymore.
Really.
I've been to the most remote garage sales in the whole area that take 25 minutes to drive through from the nearest anything before, and I'm the 4th one to ask about video games.
I was at a small neighborhood sale, and it started at 9 o'clock, and at 9:07, I asked about video games, and the guy looked at me with a shocked look on his face, and he said, "You're the 3rd person this morning to ask me that." 7 minutes into this garage sale, I was just like, shoot me now.
Dude, it's crazy the competition out there.
You got to get out there early, and you got to be fast. You can't dilly-dally. You can't. When you're at these community sales, you just got to go. Hey, you guys, I have video games. I'm looking for old game stuff. And if they say no, don't let them try to make small talk with you. Because they look at my hat, and I'm wearing a Seahawks hat, and they want to talk about the football game. I'm sorry. I don't have time to talk about it right now. I get more comments on the hat that
I stopped wearing hats for that very reason.
Yeah.
They look at your hat. It's like, oh, you have a Mariners hat.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, yeah, it's been a long time since we've been to the playoffs. How do you think we're going to do next year? Don't care.
Don't care.
No,
Bye.
no.
You don't have games. I'm out.
Bye.
I'm out.
Stop talking to me.
Yeah.
Stop wasting my time.
You just got to keep moving. You got to stay ahead of these guys because they're all trying to do the same thing.
There's way fewer garage sales now than there ever has been.
Yeah.
And that's another indication of the OfferUps and the Craigslist and the eBays.
Yeah.
People are realizing, hey, I can just post something on eBay or OfferUp and I can just get rid of it. I don't have to have a garage sale and waste a half of a Saturday in the hot driveway.
Yeah. I was at a community sale this year and I overheard, it was a pretty big community sale. There were a lot of houses and there were several blocks and there was probably 1 to 2 houses per block that was participating, right?
Yeah.
And I overheard a conversation and the lady said that she lived there for 20 years. And she said 20 years ago, almost every house on the block participated in this community sale. Now it's the other way around. That was before Craigslist and OfferUp and eBay. Oh, it probably wasn't before eBay. It was before most people knew how to use eBay.
Yeah.
There are so many avenues now to sell your stuff that there's no point in wasting an entire Friday, Saturday, Sunday on this for a lot of people. So there's just a lot fewer sales now.
There's just not nearly as many sales as there used to be, but there's at least the same amount of pickers, probably a lot more.
Probably a lot more.
You know, instead of 5 pickers, there's 20 in an area, and instead of 100 houses, there's 30 houses, and we're all trying to find the video games, and
Yep.
it's tough, man. You
It's
got to
tough.
grind. You got to get up early. I've been going to sales earlier and earlier all the time now. On 9 o'clock sales, I'm just getting there at 8:30, and I'm just walking down the driveway. And I'm going, I'm really sorry, I'm early. Is it all right? And they almost always say yes.
Most people don't care.
Yeah.
And you got to work on your speech craft.
Mm-hmm.
You got to know what to say. You got to have the right responses to, when they say, well, yeah, I do have those old games, but, I don't want to get rid of them. What do you say? You got to have an answer to that. You got to have a comeback. You got to be ready for all of their responses. I've pried games out from people who initially told me that they were not selling anything. That's it. Not for sale. But strike up a conversation, work on that speechcraft skill.
Work on that speechcraft. Watch some of those old CGR videos. The guy, he's a magician.
Master.
I mean,
Yeah.
No, I don't want to sell any of it. Smash cut to 10 seconds later. He's walking away with a box full of GameCube stuff, N64. They just told him they didn't want to sell anything.
Yeah.
It's all about speechcraft.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. Oh, yeah, Super Nintendo, I don't want to sell any of them. Well,
Yeah.
start talking to them about that. They have the Super Nintendo games.
Yeah.
Well, what do you have?
Yeah.
I do that a lot. Well, like, what games do you have? Before I even try to really pry, I want to know what they have.
Right.
And if they tell me that they just have a sea of sports games and Tony Hawk games, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, well, enjoy those games. Have a nice day. And I just leave. It's not worth my time.
Yeah, you want to know what they have. I'm not going to spend 10 minutes trying to pry PlayStation 3 games out of someone. Like, I need to know specifically, what do you have? If they mention Super Nintendo, okay, buckle down. I'm not leaving until I walk away with these games.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was 2019. Overall, it was a great year. It was one of the best years that I've ever had.
And it was a decent year for me,
Yeah.
but had a lot of fun. Added a bunch of games in my collection. Stay tuned in the off season because we're going to have some more video game content on this channel. We got a lot of stuff lined up.
That's right. People are hooked on the brothers.
The brothers.
The brothers.